attendees, welcome. Dear attendees, welcome. That sound is better. Thank you very much for this session. She introduced us, but every one of us will speak also about himself. I'm an electrical engineer. I work with computer controlled switching system, and then like 30 years with IBM as advisory system engineer in the age of 60. Some people think that at the age of 60 you have to sleep. I think that I have to be awake. We still are in the field. And I have worked with data centers since like 1980s. Of course, I was with the computer control technical exchange, but that was not like a data center. We came here to England to convert all the telephone exchanges. You know, telephone exchanges was, you do telephone like this, or something like this. So we have Ericsson Philips have took a project at that time, like I don't know, billion or something, to convert all the telephone exchanges in the kingdom to computer control. It was before, you know, the bill of the telephone was like water and electricity. But when this system was installed, then the bill of the telephone became like calls with the time and stuff. Because it was computer control. After that, I joined IBM. They took us, because Jafkali is the agent of Ericsson and IBM, SDF, if you know. So like 30 years also as advisory system engineer, I started training and then associate as an assistant associate. And so I have lived all the development, and when the computer was a glass house, and how it is now the computer that can reach it from anywhere, and the cloud, and now there is the cloud. Some people say, no, we don't want cloud, we want close and centers. For us, place in the place. My friends will speak about it after a while.
Thank you.
We'll start the session and just waiting some people to come. Maybe I like Dr. Mohammed Dighriri and Mr. Sadek will introduce yourself, please.
Assalamu alaikum. Hi everyone. My pleasure to be here, and I would like to thank all the company who's organized this conference to allow us to speak about data center and how the relationship between the organization they are involved with a huge number of data that comes from different sources. And my name is Dr. Mohammed Dighriri, and I'm General Director of Environmental Modeling and Analysis. I'm working with National Center for Environmental Compliance. They are in charge in applying like regulation and standard that considering like the different environmental media in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. We are in charge to tracking the data that comes from these environmental media, which is air quality, soil, water, and light and noise. For myself, I can't describe myself, I'm in the middle way. I'm beneficial from the data center, as well as I'm partly knowing about these data center and the requirement that we needed from different data center and different organizations. I used to work, no worries. I used to work in both in academia as well as in practice. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. So my name is Samir Joshi, and I've been working for past 2 decades driving digital transformation and innovation. And I'm working at Spimaco as the IT director. I head the division there. And out there we have done several strategic initiatives which include the cloud adoption, the data center modernization, and ERP projects. And basically I have a passion for driving the technology initiatives to unlock the business value.
So I will start focusing on about the data centers. So we have data center, cloud, and why our data center, if I can have cloud, then necessarily the data center will be close to you. So Mr. Samir now will tell us about the value on site or close to site data centers for the resource organization, and not just depend on the cloud.
So basically what we have in Spamaco is a hybrid model, alright, and there's a reason behind it, alright. While it's all good to have the cloud adoptions, specifically for resource industries, we have plants in remote locations, and there are a lot of OT technologies which need fast processing and better latency, alright, a reduced latency, okay. That's one of the key reasons why we need to have the data centers close to the to the plants that we have, and in fact we have a data center within the plant itself. And other than that, there are other specific requirements as well in terms of the security perspective, and when we talk about pharma industries, there are a lot of other compliance requirement and security requirements which are there, which are basically required, and that's the reason where you can go ahead and ensure that you have a data center in place. Other than that, we also have the compliance issue, and other than that, what I would also wanted to add was the security part, alright, because compliance is one aspect, but now since with the NC audits and the recent ransomware attacks which were done in Saudi, alright, if you guys are aware, it becomes easier for us to have specific customized data centers in place as far as the cyber security as well as the physical security is concerned.
Dr. Mohammed, what are the special requirements for resource industry?
Thank you for your question. Related to that organization and the relation and the link between them and the data center, there is some organization that are involved, say, for example, in environmental activities. Some of them they are involved with the manufacturing, oil, and so on. Each of them they need specific requirement to support their data to be presenting to the end user, which is decision maker. For example, for that requirement, it can be like related to the connection or connectivities to transmission that data from the, say for example, from the different technology they are used to their, say for example, IT department to the end user. They would like to know about that data, for example, and for that we can say for example require like internet connectivity, rely on fiber, rely on satellite, rely on different technology nowadays like 5G and so on. For that also they require like to this data center to be like more flexible in terms of scalability. If they would like to enlarge their server, if they would like to enlarge their, say for example, their infrastructure, like the connection between different infrastructure parts, as well as if they are looking, say for example, to enhance the power they get for running that operation related to their data center and so on. Also, they rely on power supply. Especially nowadays, there is some organization which is linked to the environmental regulation. We consider to rely on solar, wind, and other, like source of running that connection or to get like power supply. Moreover, they can consider also part of that requirement the calling system. As you know, calling system nowadays is being changed from the previous time. They rely on different methodology in terms of reducing the heat that comes to the data center. It can be from, for example, the water. They use it to reduce the temperature of that source of data. Also, moreover, they considering the requirement the security in both sides, in physical or in cyber security and so on. And that's it from my side.
Yes, you wanted before to speak about the redundancy and the reliability. So I have something common like you mentioned.
Yeah.
And that's the story in the old days. Reliability, the old days. Backup, usually there is, you take always backup of your data. And of course, they later developed to have another backup data center far. To convince them about far, we take a joke. So, fire happened in a data center. Don't worry. We have backup on tapes. Okay, guys, let's have the tapes. What are the tapes? They are in the data center. That's nothing there. So when you take backup, at least it has to be somewhere far from the data center itself.
Yeah.
And of course, there was the data center itself outside. And take a copy directly to the data center or other data center where you have delayed copy. No, what microphone? Where do you hear me? Yes, backup is very much important, and more than the backup is to have another data center available with the data immediate. So when something happens to the data center, you switch over to the other center. Once there is an RFP that I worked on like 20 years ago here, and the government sector, we don't have to mention which one, they required 2 minutes downtime per year, which means the availability of the center has to be available all the time. And the vendor refused it. The vendor said, we don't have to say who's vendor, so that it's not like we're not doing advertisement. The vendor said, I give 5 minutes downtime per year. 5 minutes, which means 99.999 availability, 5 nines availability. So they said, no, we want 6 nines availability. Well, after all, the agent here signed for 6 nines. And it happened after 10 years, 0 downtime. Of course, unplanned. Planned downtime, that's another story. After 10 years, it was 0 downtime. The availability is important. For the cloud was only possible after virtual machine concept was implemented. So you have the center, you have virtual machine, you can run virtual machine from anywhere you can have your system. Yeah, when I was having my center here in Riyadh in that company, I was in Beirut, I entered to the system. Of course, there was no internet, so I have to use something called modem. Everybody knows what's modem. Enter the system, I define the virtual machine, and then somebody will use it. But of course, the setup was there. Okay. And in the company I was with, VM was available before you heard about VM. You heard about VMware on the computers, on the personal computers, like in the 90s. But VM on the mainframe is available since 70s. You can have many systems on the same hardware. Each system, which is virtual machine, is independent from the other. have its own storage, but it's all controlled in the same system. So let's go back to our questions. Data center sector and resource sector. What's the learning between them and vice versa?
Yeah. So again, like I said, and I'll just elaborate on those points again. As far as the resources sector is concerned, all right, we and in specifically now since I come from pharma, we have a very strict compliance and regulatory requirements which are there, and it leads to having a similar regulatory and a risk management happening at the data center level as well. So that is something which basically as a pharma resource organization, since we have so many compliance and regulatory requirements, similarly NCA also comes to us and requests us to have similar sort of risk management put in place at data center level. So that's one of the this, and other thing is things like in any resource industry they tend to utilize everything, all the production activities, even the scrap gets reutilized and things like that. So as far as data centers are concerned, we can also try to enhance the usage of energy and resources, how we can further reutilize it as well. And as far as what the resource industry can learn from us is basically, in a data center we have a lot of technology in place to do some predictive analysis to make sure the maintenance of the servers and everything is in place. And similarly, the resource industry also can utilize IoTs and predictive analytics technologies which will basically help them do their asset management and maintenance.
Dr. Dighriri has passion question. Should governments adopt specific national regulation?
Thank you. Thank you for this question. As you know, for example, in our kingdom of Saudi Arabia, nowadays they are looking to be involved in giga and mega project, for example, and initiatives, and which is rely on that. They need like clear regulation and rules to be involved with different aspects. For example, like growing in digital economics, most company or organizations are involved with AI, with Internet of Things, with cloud, for example, and therefore they have to consider regulation as standard to look after these aspects and to be more involved in this data that can be generated from this technology. Also, in our Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, they are involved with the vision of 2030, which is rely also on clear regulation from the government to attract the organization from abroad or worldwide to be like involved in the market of Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and therefore they are also have their own data center, and moreover also the like related to the energy that can be generating from that data center. Also they have to consider them in terms of clear regulation to run that, for example, data center in terms of if there is like effect on environment, if there is like new rules of rely on solar or wind and so on. As I said also in the previous time, related to attract organization that comes from worldwide, also they have to considering the regulation of Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and know about everything related to the data sources. to make it like easy for them to be entering the Saudi market. Moreover, the public awareness and education also should be related to this regulation, because the public don't have that full idea about if they have sensitive information or data, they can't share it with anyone. If there is like some regulation and standard, they can get it as awareness for themselves before to share it. Thank you.
Mike.
Providing there are many considerations for cloud. Sometimes government say you join cloud, you have to be, the data center should be in the country, not outside. It's security. Banks, for example, they cannot just leave their data outside the country. It should be inside and so on the government. Other than this, there are reasons also to have data center close to and Samir field. Why you should have a data center close to the side?
Alright, so as per the NCA requirement, all business critical data needs to be inside the kingdom. Alright, this is something which has come almost 2 years back when Google Cloud established their data centers here. Alright, so now basically what has happened is most of our cloud migration initially was done and our cloud centers were in Belgium. Alright, but after Google established over here, we migrated from the Belgium center over here. Alright. Coming back close to the data center right now, like I initially also informed that while our ERP data sits on the cloud, alright, because that can be kept there and is accessible and there's no latency issue there. But when it comes to the plants which are specifically in remote locations, many a times we have latency, and it's not a very good thing to have latency when it comes to your OT technologies and your automations in the plant. Parallelly, also there might be some connectivity issue because the cloud works basically on how good the connectivity you have there. So there's a dependence on the service provider as well. So these are major challenges why specifically most organizations in the resource industry go for a hybrid model where the financial data and things like that can be taken and kept on the cloud, whereas as far as the operational systems are concerned, those are kept to the either on the site near the plant or close to the site to make sure that we have the right connectivity and the latency is next to zero.
This is like we still have some time. We still have some time.
Thank you. Yes, I got it. Thank you. In terms of our national center, which is in charge of getting data from different technology that can be covering the different environmental media, as I have said in the previous time, which is related to the air quality, for example, and the pollution, soil and water, as well as light and noise. which is generating huge number of data, which is, we can say that in form of big data. And therefore we are considering this data to store it, to classify it, to look after the huge number of data that comes, for example, from the satellite. In most cases, it should be like a real-time, high resolution, which is need original storage as well as the backup for that data to be in secure form to support our activities, to show the final decision maker these data, which is can be reflected on the environmental project as well as initiatives that rely on these data.
Thank you very much. Please, you are free to ask questions to our speakers. You have to select one or ask.
How can we guarantee the relevant data which I share to be inside the application, but actually inside the share
So basically, just to summarize your question, you are saying that how can we be sure that if we are migrating onto the cloud is the data is in Saudi, right? Ideally, as of now in Kingdom, we only have Google Cloud, which has data centers in Saudi. All right. I think Azure is still trying to get, and they are, I think, in the process of establishing the data center. The target is by the end of this year. But basically, if you have a contract with Google Cloud, all right, then they will be hosting your data in Saudi, which is in the market. So, there are two things here. One is, no, it cannot be that way, because like how the pharma organization is governed by certain regulations from NCA, the same regulations are applicable to all organizations. So if Google Cloud is giving you a contract, and again, it's not a small vendor, it's a multi-chat company, alright. So in that case, they have to ensure that the data is kept in the data center which they are claiming to have established.
So this is subject to their guarantee?
It is a regulation. It is a regulation for.
I cannot see my data. I cannot see it physically.
Yes. So basically, the data is any which ways is on the servers, all right, and it is established in a specific data center. It will have specific IP ranges as well, all right. So if you are more from a technical aspects, you can also define specific IP ranges which are established on a certain server, and that locations also can be taken care of.
Thank you very much.
Yes, who has questions? Please give them microphone.
Thank you so much. My name is Dr. Devashish. My question is mostly for Dr. Mohammed. Dr. Mohammed, what I'm just thinking that we are all evolving in nature slowly in the environmental and actually the previous panel when I was in the moderator, I was asking the question and we had a discussion that especially my background is AI mostly, so we have a huge spatial power usage and urban emission capacity. And there is a key challenges because when you are moving to more and more AI-driven low latency, there will be huge challenges, right? So how we should manage that part in overall the perspective, because it's always key challenge. If we do inference test where we have the AI model, but if we do the training, it will huge your the capacity, and obviously we'll need that. So do you think that anything we can do for the researchable model, something like that?
I'm not sure about your question, but I think you are asking about, say for example, if there is like form of discharge.
Yes, how can you optimize anything?
Cooling system, for example, like water or anything else similar like that.
Anything, how can you optimize? Because ultimately, when you this is a trade-off between the net zero and all, especially in the data center carbon emission, when you go for a AI-driven model. Right? So anything you thought through? I mean, any of the how the practice of the waste practice what you
In our practice, which is slightly different from what you are thinking about, but we can say that there is like alternative way in terms of reducing the causes of affect the environment, for example. Okay, can we rely on different mechanisms, like as I said, we can use solar or we use wind instead of like normal like power connection, for example, or generation from electricity. We can say like that. Yeah.
think so?
Thank you very much.
I'd like to also address this point basically. So basically what we are trying to say is that if we are going to use AI, it's going to consume more energy, alright? It needs faster computing and it needs more, and in order to do faster computing we need to have more energy, whatever, the electricity, water, it's going to be used more. How we can optimize that, right? The question is to the wrong panel, to be honest with you, because ideally people who are into the server manufacturing or the chip manufacturing things, people like Nvidia, right? They have to now put more money in research and development to have chips which can process data at a faster pace. I know if you remember, we used to have a floppy disk, and now we have trillions of data sitting in data center as well. All right. So right now the thing between, let me give you a small example. Basically, when we are talking about systems, all right, we have your car, we have the fuel, and we have the GPS. So for GPS for me is the AI which we have, all right. The car hardware, the engine basically is the data centers, and the energy which we use is the fuel. Basically it remains the same both places, alright. So now the thing what we've done as a society is or the technology industry is, we have advanced ahead on the GPS aspects where we have developed a tool. But now the energy, I mean the hardware part also, the manufacturers also need to have some things which will basically ensure that the faster computing is done with a similar, I mean they need to also have an equivalent to an AI as far as the hardware is concerned.
And so my question precisely is that, just to clarify, because that's a key point, that generally when you have the data center, even in the kingdom, recently, as you know, that Google have tied up with, and AWS is still waiting. Next week they will not announce because they are not ready. They will work that other, because I'm both certified in GCP and AWS. So the question is that here, that when you model the data center, you need to model the use case basis that your overall environment, even the chip. You get my point. So that's the question they're saying, because we are deploying the data center. What is the business model you should have? Because you know that currently your infrastructure changes. We'll always go for low latency. That's the end of the day. So, but how do you suggest anything, because you have, when you're modeling the data center or making strategy, do you think anything, any of the strategic perspective, what's your thought? That's my key question.
So
strategy perspective, yeah.
So basically, from like right now, as a part of a digital transformation, all right, till last year, we had a data center which has been established, modernized. But now, as and when we go ahead and plan for the AI implementations, all right, and again, not everybody is going to go full-blown AI for us to start computing. I mean, when we talk about the energy and the chip consumption, all right, and if we look at it from a larger perspective, it becomes, but then we are not doing a company-wide AI implementation, all right. That will be basically, and again, it's still in a very initial stage. We are getting into learn as we go kind of situation. So the requirement also will be accordingly done. So for now, like I said, most of the organizations who are initiating the AI technologies are basically going with the current as is scenario and trying to analyze how much is the impact coming of these tools which we are utilizing. And then, like I said, over a period of time, if we say, okay, if one aspect or one department uses AI and it has say 50-100 users, and this is the impact on the actual consumption of the energy and the network, all right. Basis on that, we can plan accordingly.
If you ask another question, it will be chargeable.
Assalamu alaikum, gentlemen. This is Mazen Shadid from Engr Solutions. I'm head of data center operations. Welcome. So we are a service provider for maintaining and operating enterprise and colocation data centers. My question is for Dr. Dighriri. We do have requirements from customers to our clients, which are the colocation customers, that goes, they want 0% landfill when it concerns waste management. Is that under your scope? Is this something you guys working on?
Thank you for the question. We are like, I say, our mandate is slightly different from what you asked for, but we can say that there is another organization, they are more involved in these aspects. For example, Sadek, if you hear about, you hear. Also Mohammed, which is another center, which is a sister for our center, they are more involved in these aspects, and you can't get the clear answer from their side. Yeah.
Unfortunately, we have requirements that is, when we try to implement on the ground, we don't have the mechanisms to implement.
Yeah.
People keep telling you we want this, but when you want to get anyone to do this for you, and something very simple like the organic food, organic waste, you seldom find someone who has composites to recycle this. At the same time, you have this regulation to implement. So unfortunately, we're being asked for something which doesn't have any mechanism on the ground to do it.
I really completely agree with you. I know that these centers still early, still in the early time for them, to establish this regulation and apply it in a correct way. And I know that you are struggling somehow.
So much.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, any more questions, please?
Thank you so much. I don't think we have any questions, sir, if you would like
Thank
to
you for
conclude.
participation. Just I will give Dr. Dighriri to give this beautiful summary that he wrote before. You can give this summary.
Okay, in summary, we can say about this panel that Kingdom also there been significant potential about adoption like national regulation for data center sustainability, which is aligned with economics goals, enhancing energy efficiency, and migration to environment impact. Thank you everyone for your attending. Thank you.
Thank you so much.